let you introduce yourself more. Go ahead.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, man. Even at the last moment, I really appreciate this. And this is a topic that is not much spoken about at most of the forums that I. This is about the 10th time I'm doing the same presentation. And by the way, I just want to see about 20 people online right now. And this is the life of database administrator. As you can see here, this gentleman on the right-hand corner kind of suspiciously looks like Grant Ritchie for me. But then why would he book? I don't know. So I would love to have this kind of be a very interactive session. So folks out there, wherever you are in whichever part of the world, please do go ahead and pop your hands up, ask questions. That is what makes these presentations really great. So let me start by saying, yeah, my name is Paresh, and it's not suggested. And in Boston, whenever they have the SQL Saturdays, I am the official Indian name pronouncer of the SQL Saturday in a couple of places. And I also organize the SQL Saturdays in Boston. Last year I was the photographer there. This year, Saturday we are organizing, and that is on 10th of December. If anybody is around here who likes dark, snowy nights of New England, please and enjoy the SQL Saturday. I've been a database administrator just about 16 or 17 now. Started with SQL 6.5 and started on SQL 2016. I speak very regularly at SQL Saturdays, right from Copenhagen to San Francisco, and a lot of virtual chapters, local group meetings, and so on. I find this topic useful for ourselves here as DBAs because this is really knocked out about $75 billion out of storage industry. And this is a billion with a B, okay? So guys, please watch out. So this is my contact information for those who are interested. You can follow me on Twitter at Paresh Modiwala, LinkedIn is Paresh Modiwala, Facebook is Paresh Modiwala, 781-254-4096. If you want to just call me and say hi, great. Those who are lazy and don't want to write down all this information, if you can just scan this QR code and my entire contact information will go straight into your iPhone or smartphone or using. Yes, I am crazy. I got certified as a PMP. Don't even ask me why, but eventually to be able to lead big data projects and projects for larger organizations. So although the original title said Copy Data Virtualization, it's not just about virtualization, but how do you manage your copy data is also something we will talk about as we go along. So who should attend? Okay, so definitely DBA, right? Infrastructure people, like either the network people or the administrator, systems, DB managers, IT directors, CIOs. Take this presentation and show it to your manager how they can save millions of dollars. I mean, literally, they can save that money. Network admins, as I said, and anyone who doesn't have a life really wants to see this, and I will share that information why. So people who think who are DBAs, they will also benefit immensely out of this presentation. Okay, so the agenda for the day is what is copy data, and we can make it as interactive as we want it to be. What are DevOps regions that we have? What is a copy data sprawl, for example? And this is one that I really want you to take home. Okay, and you don't want to forget about this. Copy data sprawl. Methods of getting copy data. How do you get copy data? And why is it so important for us? Data virtualization. We will definitely cover this. This is the basis of this entire presentation. Spend most of the time on this one. We will compare multiple methods in one single slide, and you can even take that slide home. I don't know, Tom, how he plans to make this thing available. You folks, whenever you get a chance, do download it and call. It's available on slideshare.net. So if you're not following me on slideshare.net, please do. It's the same as my LinkedIn. So, and then we'll have summary, and time permitting, we might even have some Q&A sessions here. I have to bail out of this by 12:50, maybe not later than 12:55, because I have another temp DB that is coming up for the virtual chapter for the DBAs. So if after this, if you guys don't have life and continue to learn more, please join there too. And I have some bibliography as information from that might be very useful for you. And the names there too. This is, remember, this is a commercial presentation. Okay. So let me ask you one question though. Okay. How many of you have been in a case? Kind of ping me here on the answering pane. It's about 4:30 p.m. and one of your developer friends comes and asks you, Paresh, or whoever is there, Tom, can you get me a restore of 1 terabyte database, like literally now? And what would your reaction to that be, for example? I would, of course, try to find the nearest possible guy, but then the worst thing is that it might take you like 4 hours, maybe 10 hours to do the restore. And guess what? In the first 5 minutes, you will find that this is kind of completely gone because the gentleman wrote a script that was having some bug and it completely wiped out whatever results that you had. So then come Saturday morning at about 10 o'clock, he will ask you to restore for yourself. And, hey, Paresh, I need that same database restored again. At least, thank God, that because being a DBA, you would have actually scripted out that restore just in anticipation of this kind of stuff. So, and a person who doesn't have life on Saturday morning, you will actually go ahead and do a restore for him, and 2-3 restores later, you will find that the script actually worked. Come Monday morning, the developer comes late to work because he was actually working, and you have to still show up at 8 o'clock in the morning. So how? Okay, so this is where this technology really comes in handy. Our production database has, or database systems have a footprint of approximately, and 5 of those terabytes are connected to our BI infrastructure every morning. And can somebody actually tell me how much time would this 5 terabytes restore take every morning? Put a couple of quick answers in the pane chat room. That will be awesome. I really look forward to this being interactive. 3, 2, 1, go. We did get a response. Wow. Somebody did? Cool. The gentleman said 2 hours roughly. Actually, so let's technically this takes us less than 5 or 10 minutes. 5 terabytes in less than 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm not kidding at all, and you can actually make it happen. So let's see, what is copy data? So copy data is essentially a copy of your production database, right, for DR, and then you have one for your DevOps region, or 6 of those for your DevOps region, correct? You have one for your BI, I don't know, and then you also have something that you archive, maybe send it off to Mountain or store it in the cloud somewhere. I don't know why you would store a 5 terabyte database in the cloud, but that's a different story. We won't conquer that today. Okay, I'm trying to get rid of this. Okay, this is good. So that is copy data. Then what is copy data sprawl? Very interesting for you, okay? Here, because to animate this damn thing, so table up for you. So remember, you have 1 terabyte of production, 1 terabyte of backup that is available on site, for restore and for anything going south in your environment, which is a remote backup, something like your parallel data center somewhere in Cisco or Phoenix or something like that. And then we have maybe 2 replicated copies for BI or any other purposes that can come to your mind. And then 1 we have for a DR facility. So as you can see, these numbers are not really very big, but if you see, if you are saving your database copies for 5 years, you're already chewing up 1800 terabytes, which is 1.8 petabytes. If this does not wake a CIO or a finance director, thing will. And to that, now you can add about 6 for DevOps regions too. For example, it could be QA2, QA3, QA4, QA5, QA6, or UAT environment, or a developer's own environment where he wants to use it. So as you can see, essentially a 1 terabyte base has such a large footprint. No matter what, really cannot get away from it if you use the conventional methods of backup and handling your copy data. So what can we do is the question, right? So more than 80% is in secondary storage, something that we really don't give a crap about, but we end up using. We just have to keep it because of a legal clause in the customer's contract says so. We have multiple footprints. This is a classic failure of our IT department, because terabyte database, you is working out of a copy that is maybe 100 gigabytes. The other one is working out of a copy that has only 5 gigabytes because he is interested in only working with 5 customers related data. So run an extract against the full-size database, and now suddenly they have a great working product based on this development, and that somehow does not scale because they did not write the scripts to make sure that it will work well against a 1 terabyte database as against a 100 gigabyte database. That is what is another problem that we face. The third one, individual problems. Everybody wants their own copies, right? So this is one of the biggest issues that I've faced also as a supporter of a QA environment where we had 48 QA environments. Everybody wanted a full-sized copy database, which was completely prohibitive. At that time, those would be small, maybe 100 gigabytes, but not really. 1 gigabyte at the time was the size, and I'm telling you that has now gone on to become approximately 1.5 terabytes for us. So silos, that is one of the things that really worries. Now, what is a silo, for example, right? Everybody who is working on different projects, now just not the bugs or anything, but if you're working in a release that is going live, say for example in 2018, right? The developers or the development team would have taken 1 copy of your 1 terabyte database today, and they keep on working on that one for the next 1 year, completely oblivious to the fact that the data is changing in the background, the data definitions or the tables are changing, sprocs are changing, views are changing in the background. They are completely blind to that. So come next June or July in 2017, they said, okay, yeah, let's try this on a full-size database that is a fresh copy of the production database. And guess what? Their stuff doesn't work because of the obvious reasons that the footprints are multiple and they kept on working in silos, and because they just can't afford to have full-size databases for themselves. And storage and management inefficiencies, which is something which your infrastructure people will tell you about, that it is extremely difficult to maintain security of silos. It is almost impossible who the developers give access to. So that is something that you have to watch out if you are having any PII, PCI, or PHI data. Anybody attended a session on how to manage your databases in a HIPAA environment by Leach? If you haven't, try to find him. I think there is a couple of recordings available from him. You may definitely want to look it up. He's a great friend of ours. He's now working with SurveyMonkey. And how do you get, what are the methods of getting copy data, for example? Okay, so this is just a time when you introduce a little funny episode during the presentation. So there are like 3 SQL DBAs and 3 Oracle DBAs going to pass, right, for some reason. And the SQL guy, ends up buying 1 ticket, whereas the Oracle guys buy 3 tickets. So the Oracle guys were telling SQL guy, like, geez, how come you're buying only 1 ticket? So they say, you know what, you don't know, you guys are Oracle people, you wouldn't understand this. So okay, tell us how you're going to pull it off. So they find that when the ticket collector comes, the 3 SQL guys squeeze into the bathroom, and when the ticket collector knocks on the bathroom, they just send out the 1 ticket, and the ticket collector walks away. The Oracle guys are absolutely impressed. So they said, you know what, we got to get even with these guys, and we got to get smart as the SQL DBA. So on the return journey, the Oracle guys buy 1 ticket, and the SQL guys buy no ticket at all. Okay, so guess what happens? They say, what? You're not even buying 1 ticket? So the SQL guy said, no, you'll see why we don't buy even 1 ticket today. So they're sitting there, and the 3 Oracle guys actually go into the bathroom, and instead of the ticket collector, the SQL guys go and knock on the bathroom, and the Oracle guys give them the ticket, and they get the ticket and they move on. So SQL guys, I love them. So the methods of getting copy data, right? Replication. A lot of people use replication even today, but after doing this presentation today, you may not really want to do replication anymore. Transaction log shipping, still a very popular way of handling your copy data. Mirroring, completely deprecated now, don't even think about it, but we must talk about it just because it is still there in some pockets. Snapshot, I haven't used one in almost 10 years, since SQL 2005. Block level replication, which is crucial. This does exist in a lot of places, but this doesn't have a very fancy GUI, but it is very useful, and I've used it for almost 5 years. Very, very nice product, and it works. That is the best part of it. Tapes. Just show of hands. Can somebody tell me how many of you actually use tape backups still? And it's okay, I won't tell anybody. Oh, wow. Okay. So I'm happy I'm not alone. Okay, so let's go to the method, right? So I'm going to go through this pretty quick. In replication, the next 5 or 6 slides follow the same exact pattern. That is, setup for replication is easy. That is the pros. Okay, but the cons are you can't repair it very easily. So either you have to end up reinitializing the snapshot, or whatever you're doing, you have to almost start from the very beginning. Troubleshooting is tough in a lot of replication issues because you either have it or you don't have it. Space, bad news, it uses the same amount of space unless you are having a very minuscule amount of subset of data that you are pushing over as a replication. But then you might as well just run a SSIS package to do that. Network bandwidth. It's low after a point in time, but high initially because you have to have one full copy of the database copied over to the remote location where you're doing the replication. What happens if there's a DR? The only way this would work is if you have a DNS switch, or there's no other option for you to repoint your application. Can you use this for DevOps? In the sense, can you use it for lower regions? Yes and no, as the pros and cons, because it is coming at a huge cost for you. And replication also has its own latency issues and so on. So DevOps may not really be a great idea, but in a very urgent situation, you can possibly take a copy of the replicated database and use it in DevOps. Cost, all I can say is it is difficult to maintain. Can you offer it database as a service? No. Can you offer this as a self-service at all? Can a developer actually start up his own replication and start getting a copy of the data for himself? No. Let's go to the next one. Oh, come on. Transaction log shipping, right? On the same format. I still like transaction log shipping a lot, but remember, the worst thing that I find is that it does take the same amount of space. And when there is a DR, yes, you will have to have the DNS switch and then eventually make sure that you have to reverse it when the disaster is gone away, right? Can you use it for DevOps? Kind of. Maybe one copy you can, but then you really don't have a hot copy just in case production goes down. And that's one of the things people do say, yeah, why can't you have 5 or 6 copies with transaction log shipping? But remember that all will come at a cost of latency and a lot of I/O. And sometimes transaction logs, if you have to apply it to the remote location or the target, it will actually have to kill the connections to that region too. So just be aware. Find it difficult to maintain. This is just my personal observation. Some experts and diehard fans might not like to feel that this is very hard to maintain. You cannot offer it as a database as a service, and you can definitely not let the developers or any other people run around and use it as a self-service. Mirroring is deprecated. Okay, so but it was easy to restart within reason. Troubleshooting was easy, but again, the space used is the same amount of space. Initially, there's a high network bandwidth. Some applications had to be mirror aware, and then they would automatically fail over. But if they were not, then you had to have a DNS switch and then set up a reverse mirroring at the end of the disaster. Can you hand it over to DevOps? Well, no, because it's not able to be available offline for you. Cost, as I said, it's kind of weird, except for the license. It doesn't cost you much, and the storage. You cannot offer it database as a service, and you can definitely not use it as self-service, but don't worry too much about it because it is deprecated and not being used. Any questions, comments so far? I can't see the question panel. Let me see if there is any.
No, there's no questions yet.
Okay, cool. Then let's look at the block level replication. So this is something that we started using in one of the organizations where I worked. It was a law firm, and we tremendously exploited this no end. So we had 2 data centers. One was in Hong Kong and one was in San Francisco. And these 2 were our DR sites for Boston. Boston was our main data center. And if there was something that went south, we had to be 300 miles outside of the nuclear blast radius. So we chose San Francisco. This one really worked for us. The problem was that it cost me about $25,000 per site. It is almost the same as in replication, that the initial amount of network bandwidth is used. Space is the exact same amount of space that is being used, and it is almost instantaneous. You might lose a few seconds of data here and there, but otherwise it is very instantaneous. And guess what? It works. Can you use this in DevOps? No, you can't, because the biggest issue with this method was that your target server had to be offline, in the sense that the SQL services have to be offline. They cannot be running. If they run, then the link is broken and the block level changes cannot be applied to the target. So this is still being used by a lot of companies, and which would actually take me to the point of copy data virtualization, where copy data virtualization is actually nothing but block level replication, but with much significant impact, and the fact that it is having much more advantages than just simple replication.
Paresh, we have a question here.
Okay.
You said block level. You mean SAN block level?
Yes, SAN block level. Does it answer the question?
Yes, it does.
Cool. Yeah, it is SAN block level replication. That is why we would have like your install folder would be like, your OS is on the C drive, D is for your SQL install, your E and F drive are for data and log files respectively. So it is only the E and F that are replicated, and you have to have an identical install on the target location. So it will basically, all it does is replicates directories. That's all it does.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. But it worked for us. We actually had 2 instances when we had to fail over to San Francisco. And believe it or not, in the middle of the Saturday night, we could actually do it in approximately 3 minutes flat. We switched over our entire data center to San Francisco. The bigger pain, as I said, is when you're reversing it. Bringing it back over here was a bigger issue. But then we still survived. Our business never suffered any loss, which was awesome. Snapshot replication, I don't know how many of you still use that. I don't. I have almost never used it. So a combination of block level replication and snapshot is what is essentially your copy data virtualization. So as you can see, snapshots, again, the only thing is, if I remember it correctly, it had to be on the same server, which means you have to now provide for the same amount of space on the server to have the snapshot, which means, can you offer this as a database as a service? Yes, people could actually use that as a database as a service, but you would not let a developer on the production server trying to make a copy or a snapshot for himself. Not a great way to have a DNS switch, because it reminds you it's just a pointer to the database. It was never pretty. I don't know if anybody's still using snapshots, especially with the virtualization available for you. Okay, so what is copy data virtualization? So as I said, the combination of snapshotting and block level replication, and then providing a very funky little user interface over it, accompanied with an optional command line interface, is what copy data virtualization is. So let me show you what it is, okay? What does copy data virtualization have for you? So it is not the easiest thing to set up initially, but that is why you almost always work with a vendor whom you buy it from. It is a hardware/hardware and software solution. Somebody raised a hand. No. Okay. Troubleshooting is very easy, believe it or not, and I will show you why. It is actually 0 extra space. That is the biggest advantage of copy data virtualization. So on a slightly personal note, if you want to see what copy data virtualization is for you, you have to go and equate this to watching a movie on Comcast or watching it on Netflix. Do you think that your TV is actually storing all the data? No. These are the things which come in virtually for you, kind of streaming, but they are virtual copies of the original files that are in Comcast headquarters. And that is what you get. You don't get a real copy. That is why the extra space used by virtualization of copy data is almost 0. The network bandwidth, believe it or not, is extremely low on this. Repointing the application again requires a DNS switch. I also added one slide yesterday, which was based on a feedback given for one of the listeners in my Atlanta presentation as to how to bring the DNS switch or back over to the main data center or the main server. We can talk about it too. Can this be used for DevOps? Yes, it can be used for DevOps. Cost is expensive to start with. Yes, it is. You could have a solution from 40,000 to 200,000 depending on amount of data you're protecting, but it's a good one. Can you offer this database as a service? Yes, 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 and self-service, definitely yes. Now, I know some hardcore DBAs with ancient values would come and ask me, what the hell are you talking, Presh? Why would you give database replication in the hands of developers or finance people or marketing people? Why do they need a copy of the database? To which my answer would be, because that is the way you're going. If you can give Power BI to them, which means the analysis of the data is in their hands, it is their data, let them have it. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. This is my favorite Dilbert guy. Anybody here hear about something called as the airplane effect? It's when a CIO or your COO is traveling in the plane and he hears some technical words and then he comes back to the company or in the office and then makes the whole office run around to find what the heck it means, and then he wants to implement that instantly. That is what plane effect is, airplane effect. So let's see. So this is your copy data. I mean, this is your production database, for example. And what you do is that only once, okay, for those who are in their homes or in their offices, please know, only once in the entire lifetime will you ever back up the database, okay? And you create one master copy of this production database. Now somebody asked me a question, how come this circle is bigger than the actual production database? I have no idea why I did that, but then that is the way it is. And then once you have this master copy, you can actually do two things to this, okay? You can either clone it. So what do you do in a clone, for example? In the clone, you can actually take a copy of this data, the virtual copy of this database, virtual copy, mind you, not a physical copy. You can take a virtual copy of this database, run your encryption algorithms, you know, the scripts that would actually go ahead and mask your social security numbers, date of births, names, telephone numbers, whatever, and have a cleansed copy of the database as a clone, removing customer email addresses, for example. So if there are some campaigns that you're testing out, suddenly you don't send them out, you know, 2 million spurious emails, which don't really mean anything to them. It's just annoyance. So you have a cleansed copy of the database here. And once you have that, you can now go ahead and if it works, works awesome. Yep. So you can actually go ahead and present it to DevOps regions. And in some of these technologies that are available in the market today, you can actually present 10 copies of these in a single command. 10 copies, and I'm not kidding you at all. So we will see in the next slide how it actually works. But can you see the possibilities that brings to you? Here you go. Remember that 4:30 p.m. Friday example that I gave you about a developer coming to you? This initial process of ingesting your production backup and backing it up takes just the normal time as it would take for your backup, which could be whatever. And after that, cloning this takes, so the initial copy, the virtual copy takes like a couple of minutes, and then whatever cleansing you are doing is just like any other data operation. So whatever that takes you for time, that is exactly what it would take you for this time in this clone part of it. And once you're done with that, presenting 10 of these copies of 1 terabyte database to the servers that you haven't even heard of, or people can actually go ahead and attach these to their own workstations and start working on a 1 terabyte copy on their own workstations. That is the power of this. And mind you, what is the incremental space taken by this? 0, big 0. So that is the biggest advantage. Now, towards the end, I will show you some more advantages that are associated with copy data virtualization. But for now, you can think of it, yes, there is a GUI available, there are command line interfaces available that can actually let a developer go ahead and make a copy for himself over here from the clone itself, or he can take a copy directly from the master copy here without having too much cost by way of network bandwidth or storage requirements. Let's go here and see how the technology actually works. Okay, so can I actually use a tool here? Yeah, I'm going to use a Spot. I have not done this ever, but this is your SQL Server, for example, the one on the left side, and it could have a direct attached storage or some storage array or a NAS or a file server based on that. Now on the right side, you will see the solution provided by one of the vendors. It could be any of the gazillion vendors who are out there, but the bottom line is that they have, with their hardware solution or a VM, okay, some sort of a disk space that is carved out. So if you have, for example, 5 terabytes of database that you're protecting, then you need to have this to be approximately 10 terabytes. But this is like a one-time cost, okay? And 10 terabyte storage per se is not very expensive. But once you have this, what it will do is that it will actually go ahead and present this virtual LUN to the SQL Server, then there are these products have some sort of an application API that will take the changed blocks, okay? And you've heard of this Microsoft volume shadow service, right? So used with that, it will actually change blocks and copy them to this master copy, compress it, highly dedupe it, and then kind of detach it, bring it back to itself. And now you can see that you have multiple snapshots, and most of them are now deduped. Point. Where is my original backup? Your original backup could be the first vertical slide that you see here on the snapshot. You see that could be your original one. Everything else is just the incremental. As you can see, the only time you take a full database backup is once. So tomorrow morning, you take another full database backup. It is not really a full database backup. It is just incremental. But it has the algorithm where it takes the additional changes, merges with the original database backup with some additional timestamp information, and you still have that one copy. It could have grown by maybe 1% or 2% or whatever it is, and then suddenly you still have the one master copy of the database backup. Okay. So this is something that I added yesterday. Okay, and this can get a little confusing. So if you have any questions or comments on this, please feel free to call me or just email me. If you want, I will replay my contact information later. Okay. So what you do
Paresh,
is you have a yes, sir.
before you continue on, you can kind of help answer a question that I
Shoot.
have here, and that is,
Okay.
how are you when you when you're going to your DevOps area or somewhere else outside of prod,
Mm-hmm.
how are you protecting the data, and what are you doing to obfuscate the personal identifiable information, the PII or HIPAA data or
PCI, for example.
PCI
Correct.
data? How are you
So
actually doing that?
okay, let me show you this. Correct. If you
Yeah.
remember, that is what you would do in the clone level if it is necessary for you.
Okay.
Got it? So all cleansing, obfuscation, masking, everything is done at the clone level. And not everybody has access to this. These are granted to the user on on need basis only. So you can actually have a group of people who belong to D, for example. They will get X amount of privileges. What can they do? They can only use clone, for example. The E people could use only, they can use both master as well as the clone copy, because if this is coming from HR and they need a copy of the full database, then you may want to give it to them, right? So they can actually take it directly from the master copy. So does that answer your question? So it is 100% secure. There is no ways, because a lot of these people, if they are not working out of the VM, for example, the other vendor that I was talking to you about and where I worked for a year called Actifio, they actually have the entire system that is over here in the master copy that resides on a Linux box. So, you know, that kind of doesn't gel well with Active Directory. So people, for them to get direct access to it is even more difficult than ever before. So everything therefore has to be governed through a GUI or a command line interface that would actually give them the necessary privilege. Does that answer your question, Tom?
Yeah, I think so. Uh, Definitely. And maybe you'll show some more in a minute that will show exactly like are you doing it with the store procedure? Are you doing it with, how are you actually going in there and doing that? So go ahead.
That is because that would be like displaying somebody's technology,
Okay.
and that would be like against the code of PAS. We don't want to do that, right? So you don't want to show a product in a virtual chapter or even in the PAS, and that's why even in SQL Saturdays, I only take it offline and then talk to them how that actually works.
Okay. All right.
I hope you realize that, in the sense that, can I do this like today? I can't do it today because I'm not set up for that. we really need a full-size lab to be able to do that. But if there is sufficient interest, we can actually have 2 or 3 vendors come and show the same exact product or principle as to how you can use this without costing your company an arm and a leg, right?
Okay. All right.
So let's go for this. I think we are running slightly behind the time, so I'm just going to go through this here quick. This works. Yes, it does. So say, for example, you have a production copy that is A. Step A is when you have production copy that resides on D, you have been backing it up on a regular basis to the master copy, right? That's the one which we showed earlier. And after a while, you find that the production database is either corrupt or the server just died. That is shown in the right-hand side column. So what you do is now you take a copy of that master copy and present it to the Z drive, for example, okay? And within 2 minutes, you have your production up and running, okay? That is the power of this solution. You really don't need high-scale experts to be able to show you to do this. Just as we have always on availability groups in SQL 2012 onwards, here also there are mechanisms where you can actually define a group of application or a group of databases so that if you bring up one, the other 5 will also come along with it. So you don't have to run the same operation 5 times and spend that much extra time. So having done that, now you can see that you now start taking a copy of this database as it is being used and have a brand new master copy. This has only the B, only has its archive value. You're not using it anymore because it's already been copied over here as a virtual copy, right? And then you go ahead and restore it to the original location. And say, for example, the database name over here was Paresh. Here you restore it as Paresh. But when you are making a copy of this over to the original location, maybe you can call it as Paresh temp. Every day or every hour or so, you keep on backing up transaction logs here, applying transaction logs over here on the E, and then when you get an opportune moment, you will then cut cords with D and bring up E online. So you not only went through disaster, but you also went back to relocating the database in case of a emergency or just as a matter of sound principle that you want to bring your databases back to your original data center or the original server. And just you keep on applying logs, and now there is no difference between E and A. Okay? So here you go. Correct? So basic principle here is everybody gets a database. Okay, just as Oprah said. So let me go and show you how it saves you time. For example, I'm going to go through this really quick. So you see, in a traditional method, if you have a 1 terabyte or 5 terabyte database that is from like 1 month ago, you might have to put in some sort of a ticket. Your infrastructure people will actually get this information, apply for a retrieval of tape from somewhere, wherever it is. They will go ahead, restore it on a local server after provisioning storage, and you know how it is to get storage from your infrastructure people, and then they go ahead and take a copy of that and restore it for whoever needs it. Whereas in a copy data virtualization enabled process, you want to copy from 1 month back. Oh, wait, that's it. The orange line here that you can see is all it really takes to cover that. So within 1 minute, as against 2 to 4 weeks or 2 to 5 minutes, you can actually go ahead and make a single copy of your database almost instantly. So I won't have too much time to compare this one here in one shot, but let's see this. I wanted to show you. Come on, baby, you can do this. Okay. The network bandwidth taken by copy data virtualization is almost zero. DNS switch can be done, which is instant. The cost initially is high compared to the conventional methods, but everything else is a go, 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 go for you. So troubleshooting is easy. It's really easy. I've been through this myself. The space required is almost zero, network almost zero. And one question that plagues most of the IT managers is, what server am I actually putting this information on? So now with this copy data virtualization, because you don't have to provide for a space, you don't care which server it goes to, and therefore that makes it like a total winner for you. Okay, so you can imagine why a 5 terabyte database copy, if you're going to have it in 10 different locations, it still costs you only 5 terabytes, which you already paid for ahead of time. So there is no extra space requirement for you to use that. So with that, should come to the summary of what we just learned today. And so what is copy data we saw, and what are DevOps regions, and how copy data sprawl happens. For example, we saw that a 1 terabyte database can very quickly spiral to 1.8 or 2 petabytes right off the cuff. In medical field, for example, we have to store the data for 10 years, which means now we're talking at 4 petabytes. Methods of getting copy data, we found out that transaction log shipping, replication, mirroring, and copy data virtualization. We saw how copy data virtualization works, how it saves you a lot of money and time, and we had a one page where we had everything in one comparative slide as to what is good, what is not good in each of the methods that we are using. And that's me when I went to Puerto Rico the other day. In June, I spoke there in the Puerto Rico too. And awesome group of people that I totally love them. And these are the people from whom I've picked up a lot of this information. Actifio.com, Cohesity.com, and Delphix.com. They are some of the leading vendors for copy data virtualization. This will be available to you whenever you feel like downloading it. And Q&A. Do we have any questions, Tom?
Paresh, we got one that was earlier, and that is, the T-shirt you had up earlier in your slide deck. She wants to know where she can buy it at. You know.
So if you go to, actually, you remember, I think this is run by Brent Ozar. It's called dbareactions.com.
Yeah, dbreactions.com. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very funny website, and I actually even have a funny video that we created with the stars inside my company, because in my company we have something like a Shark Tank equivalent where you can pitch your business ideas, and my idea has actually been taken to the third level now of saving company tons of money. So we are using NetApp, but it doesn't have like database as a service, or it cannot be given as an on-demand thing. It is still, the reins are in the hands of the infrastructure people, basically leading to all multiple issues like silos, multiple data footprints, and so on. So can I buy this? No, this is just a t-shirt that I got from dbareactions.com.
Okay.
I
Maybe,
was, yeah.
maybe T-shirt, TEE shirt, or one of those guys have something, because I've always seen stuff from on data architects and stuff like that. So they might have one. But so I'll get the slide deck from Paresh, and I'll put it up there along with our YouTube, so you can turn around and actually listen to it again and get the links that he gave us at the end, so that we
Yep.
can go check out some copy data virtualization vendors and stuff. And Paresh, again, I want to thank you for coming and
I have a
talking to
question too.
us.
Oh,
Sure.
anytime, man, anytime. Guys, so whoever is still online, a couple of them dropped out, but if you are going to be voting for the pass, please remember I'll be running for the pass board of directors. You should see something about that pretty soon. Definitely look forward to serving the SQL community much beyond just speaking. So thank you so much, folks, and have a pleasant rest of the afternoon, and I got to jump back onto another presentation now. Okay.
All right. Well, have a
So
great
thank you
day.
for asking all the questions, guys. Bye, Tom, and I'll catch up with you soon. Okay.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye bye.